What's going on, guys? This is a guide to prophecy. Before we get started, it's a recommended 1040, but I recommend you at least being 1050 before you go in here. And the reason for that is the Hexahedron encounter is a 1050 encounter, and the final boss encounter is a 1060. I can just say from experience, being below anything but 1050 is a nightmare, so I don't recommend it in the slightest at all. Alright, so to get started here, as you can see, there's a light and there's a dark extinguish point, and to extinguish you need to kill this knight. Depending on where you're standing, he's going to drop a light or dark motes. It doesn't matter where the knight's standing, it only matters where you're standing. As you can see here, we're standing in the light, so when we kill him, he drops light motes. And if I was standing in the dark, he would drop dark motes. One easy way to tell is, as you can see in the bottom of my screen there's a white smoke around the corners. That shows that I'm in the light. And what you do is you kill these knights and they'll drop motes. Each knight drops 3 motes and you need to pick up 5. When you pick up 5, you will carry them in your hand, as you can see here. You're going to go to an extinguish point and you're going to hit your R2. When you hit your R2, you will then extinguish that point. You need to do that for light and dark. As you can see here, I'm standing in darkness, so there's black smoke around the edges of my screen. That's, like I said, one way to easy tell if you're in light or dark. Now, seeing it's a new dungeon, there is bugs. Sometimes you will be standing in light and it will drop dark motes. It's just, I mean, it's a game, there are bugs. But for this first part, you just need to do this twice. That's 4 extinguishes, 2 darks, and 2 lights. After that, you'll proceed on to the next boss. So here at the next boss, there's 4 extinguish points. Same like the last time. This is going to be the same mechanic out through the whole entire dungeon. We're going to do the same thing we just did. We're going to kill knights standing in the light or the dark, depending on what extinguish we need. And when we go to damage, we're going to use sword. I highly recommend a sword with a Well of Radiance and Oppressive Darkness or a tether. The reason why I recommend a well is because there's going to be these goblins that spawn. They're going to put a shield around the boss and it's going to stop you from doing damage. If you don't have a well, you're going to have to go outside and go and kill the goblins. For some reason, there's a bug right now that the well cancels the goblin's shield. So what I'll recommend is Warlock run well, Titan run bubble, and Hunter run tether. Now, if you have only a Titan, the problem is you're going to have to take care of the goblins. Here we killed them before the goblins spawn, and that's what I recommend. Alright, for this next part, you're going to be looking for the blights. This is called the Wasteland Heaven or Hell. Here I recommend having long range, maybe a sniper. If you have anarchy, 1 shot to each blight will kill the blights, and then you can take care of the snipers. I do not recommend mountaintop inside of the blights because you will kill yourself. Luckily here, it's a big wide open area, so it shouldn't be a problem. After you destroy each blight on a spot, you'll run up to Tolan, and Tolan will take off, and then you'll do this a few times. And after you do it a few times, a message will pop up in the bottom left of your screen saying the way is open, and Tolan will be floating in front of a door that you need to go to, which will be the next encounter, the Hexahedron. So as you can see here, we killed the final blight, and then in the bottom left corner you see the way is open. I'm going to hop on my sparrow and go and find Tolan. So Tolan was floating in front of the door here. You run up here to the door, and if you can't find it, if you look around, there will just be a big blue opening on one of the walls, and this is the Hexahedron. Okay, this is the Hexahedron. The only difference between every other encounter in here is, as you can see right here, Tolan is on the wall, and I'm going over to this black one. that is where the extinguish point is. Tolan will be on the wall in front of a panel, and whatever's under Tolan, that's where you have to extinguish. So for instance here it's dark motes. So we kill the knights same way as we've been doing up to here. You know, for light you stand in light, for darkness you stand in darkness. We extinguish and then we meet up in the middle. Once we meet up in the middle, it's going to float us up and flip the whole room around. Now as you can see right here, if you're a little bit low light, you can stand on the cube that's floating above us, which we had our buddy do. What he can do is take care of the hobgoblins. How this works is once you clear the first set of adds, to get the knights to spawn, you have to kill the hobgoblins. Every time you kill a hobgoblin, a knight spawns. And every time you kill a knight, a hobgoblin spawns. So you need to be aware of that hobgoblin. Now here, we couldn't find where Tolan was at, and we found out he's above the cube. If you look around and you don't see Tolan, if you look above the cube and he's floating up there, that means that you can extinguish wherever you want. So as you can see here, there's more darkness than there is light, so that's what we chose to go for. We ended up going for darkness. You're going to end up doing this 6 times, and if you do it right 6 times, it will spawn you in to the last part. As you can see coming up here, we meet up in the middle. The room's going to rotate. It's going to teleport us to a new room. Every time you do this, it teleports you to a new room. Now here in the final room, there's going to be 2 mini bosses, I would say. This is going to be the easiest part of this whole encounter. As you can see here, I threw a Nova Bomb at this guy. Already dead. My buddy over there killed the other one. After you kill these 2 guys, that's the end of this encounter. You go back to the Wasteland. And once you go back to the Wasteland, as you can see here, you're just going to follow the boss here. He's just going to teleport the closer you get to him. But you're not going to worry about any other ads or nothing. You're just going to follow the final boss. He's going to lead you to the next part of the dungeon. Alright, coming up to this last part here, I'm not going to explain too much about this part because I don't really want to spoil it. It ruins the fun for the first time you're going through it. But pretty much, basically you're going to want to stay on these ribbons and you're going to want to go all the way down to the very bottom. And when you get down to the bottom, it's going to inhale you into that very big pyramid back there. I will, however, tell you that at the last pyramid, before you get to the final spot that you need to be at, there is a secret chest. I'm going to the pyramid right now. However, I already received it on my warlock for this week, so I didn't go grab the chest, but the chest is in here. If you go to the back left of this room, to where I'm standing now, there'll be a little place that you can go through and go over to the chest area. But yeah, that's this part leading up to the final boss here. Alright, so here at the final boss room, it's every encounter leading up to here, the same mechanics. You have 3 extinguish points. Now the only difference here is at each extinguish point, there's going to be a shade of the final boss. And basically this shade of the final boss can kill you, it can shoot you, and it can stomp you if you get too close. And every time you extinguish, there's going to be an ogre that spawns at that extinguish point. So basically, you're going to want to clear as many ads as you can quickly and take care of the knights quickly and get an extinguish out the gate as fast as you possibly can. The reason for this is it gives you a spot in the room to put your back against the wall. Now, when we go to damage, I'm going to recommend a sniper or mountaintop and Anarchy or a grenade launcher with spike grenades. The reason for the mountaintop and the sniper is there's going to be hobgoblins, and you're also going to be moving around and platforming while doing damage to the boss, and on top of that you're going to have the hobgoblins shooting you. So you're going to want to be taking care of the hobgoblins as you're doing damage. Now once you kill these ogres, once you kill all 3 ogres and you get done with all the extinguish points, you don't have to go directly to damage. You can sit in this final room and farm the ads that spawn for supers, grenade, ammo, whatever you need be to have as much damage as possible whenever you go to damage. It's going to be very tedious, especially for your first time going in. The platforming and the moving around with the hobgoblins, it's very tedious. Now as for supers, hunters, I recommend a tether. Warlocks, I recommend either bottom or top tree Nova Bomb, and Titans, I recommend a bubble. As soon as you get down there, you're going to want to get a tether out the gate or an oppressive darkness, and you're going to want to get the bubble as soon as you land. Get the weapons of light and then get out of there. Now when you get to damage phases, the main problem with this boss is A, there's platforming, and B, he throws a portal. That portal that just went by right there, what that does is when it hits you, it teleports you back to the very beginning. Now that doesn't seem like much of a problem, but if you see in my screen up here, I have dark entropy ×2, and now it's ×3. The farther you are away from the boss, the more that stacks. When that hits 10 stacks, you die. Now the reason why I said the sniper or the mountaintop, as you can see, I'm taking care of the hobgoblins while trying to stay close enough to the boss so I don't die. It's going to be very tedious, like I said, your first time coming in here because it's going to be new, but after you run it a few times, it definitely gets easier over time. Through this whole damage phase, you're going to want to keep oppressive darkness or a tether on them, and you're going to want to make sure them hobgoblins are taken care of as you move along. Now the hobgoblins are going to be one of the biggest problems when you go to damage. Now after you do damage, it's going to be like the Hexahedron. The room is going to flip, and you're going to have to get 3 more extinguishes with 3 more ogres and meet up in the middle and then go to damage phase. But remember, after you're done with the 3rd extinguish, you don't have to go directly to damage, and also at this point you don't have to go directly back into the room. You can sit here, make sure your mods are set, make sure you're good before you go into the final room. After you do this a few times, you should do it anywhere from 2 to 3 damage phases, 4 depending on who you're running with and what your light level is. But after you do this a few times, you'll be able to proceed to killing the boss, as you can see here, and you will get your completion for Prophecy. That is the final boss, and that is my guide to Prophecy. I hope you enjoy. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and comment below. Thank you.